Nitrogen is everywhere, 78% of the air you are breathing, yet American farms spend billions each year importing it in plastic bags. There was a time when a single tree, Robinia pseudoacacia, turned invisible gas into free-living fertilizer. It built soils and provided rot-resistant wood that lasted a century. Then we wiped it out. Why did we abandon the only machine that lets farms harvest fertilizer from the sky at no cost? And who really benefited from that decision? The answer starts with the science behind this living engine. Robinia pseudoacacia. That is the scientific name for the black locust, a tree that belongs to the same family as peas and beans, the legumes. Unlike most trees, the black locust is not just a consumer of soil nutrients. It is a biological partner forming a living alliance with microscopic bacteria called rhizobia. These bacteria make their home inside small nodules along the tree's roots. In exchange for sugars from the tree, rhizobia perform a chemical feat that no plant can do alone. They take nitrogen gas from the atmosphere, the same nitrogen that makes up most of the air, and convert it into ammonium, a form of nitrogen that plants can actually use. This process, known as nitrogen fixation, quietly transforms invisible gas into solid plant food right beneath our feet. The black locust is a master of this partnership. Legumes are known for their ability to fix nitrogen, but few trees do it at this scale. The nodules on black locust roots can be packed with rhizobia, working year-round as a natural fertilizer factory. While most trees slowly deplete the soil as they grow, black locust actually enriches it, leaving the ground richer than it found it. This is not just theory. Soil tests beneath mature stands show measurable increases in available nitrogen, supporting not just the locust itself, but neighboring plants as well. In botanical terms, black locust is a pioneer species. It thrives on poor, disturbed soils where other trees struggle, thanks to its rapid growth and its unique ability to manufacture its own nutrients. Each year, a single tree can fix dozens of pounds of nitrogen per acre, quietly supplying the equivalent of bags of commercial fertilizer without a single trip to the store. The engine behind this system is not a factory or a bag of chemicals. It is a living partnership, evolved over millions of years, that lets one tree feed an entire ecosystem. Measured in the field, black locust delivers numbers that sound almost unreal for a tree. Every acre of mature black locust can fix somewhere between 30 and 50 pounds of nitrogen each year directly into the soil. That is not a laboratory estimate. It is what researchers have found in real-world stands, even on poor ground. For context, a typical bag of commercial nitrogen fertilizer holds about 40 or 50 pounds. So 1 acre of black locust is quietly producing the equivalent of a bag or more of fertilizer every single year. And it keeps doing this without any outside input, no matter how poor the soil was to begin with. The growth rate is just as impressive. Young black locust trees routinely shoot up 3 to 4 feet per year, outpacing most hardwoods and even many fast-growing softwoods. This rapid growth means that a single tree can be harvested for leaves, mulch, or wood in a fraction of the time it would take a traditional timber species to reach the same size. In managed plantings, this trait allows for regular coppicing, cutting the tree back to encourage vigorous regrowth, and creating a cycle of perpetual harvest. Each cut triggers a flush of new shoots, and below ground, a turnover of fine roots. While the tree is pumping nitrogen into the soil through its root nodules, its fallen leaves add another layer of organic matter to the surface, feeding soil microbes and building structure year after year. These numbers are not just academic. For the frugal homesteader, the annual nitrogen contribution from black locust can replace store-bought fertilizer on a backyard scale. For the regenerative gardener, the steady drop of nutrient-rich leaf litter and the tree's rapid wood production offer a renewable source of mulch and soil amendment. And for those questioning the logic of modern input-heavy agriculture, these figures draw a clear line. Nature's own fertilizer plant, working for free, was once a standard part of the American farm. The value was not theoretical. It was measured, harvested, and counted in bushels and cords. In 1601, a single shipment of Black Locust saplings crossed the Atlantic bound for the royal gardens of France. Jean Robin, herbalist to King Henry IV, received the trees and quickly recognized their unusual qualities. He recorded their rapid growth and the way their wood resisted rot, a trait that set them apart from any native European species. Within a few years, Black Locust became a prized curiosity among botanists and estate owners across the continent. Parisian nurseries began listing Robinia pseudoacacia in their ledgers as a miraculous newcomer, one that could thrive in poor soils and outlast the local timber in damp cellars and vineyard posts. Demand spread quickly. By the mid-17th century, Black Locust was being planted in the formal gardens of Versailles and the walled orchards of England, valued not only for its fragrant blossoms, but for its practical gifts. The wood's reputation grew with every passing decade. Shipbuilders in the British Navy took note, using it for pegs and fastenings that would not decay in salt water. Landowners across Europe ordered cuttings for their own estates, hoping to secure a supply of posts that would not rot away in a generation. This was more than botanical fashion. Export manifests from colonial ports list Black Locust alongside tobacco and timber, a sign of its growing economic weight. In a world with a lifespan of a fence post or the strength of a ship's beam could decide fortunes, Black Locust earned its place as a tree of prestige, a living export as valuable as any crop. Its journey from the hills of Appalachia to the nurseries of Paris marked the beginning of a global reputation, long before it became a staple of American homesteads. On the American homestead, Black Locust was more than a curiosity. It was a survival tool. Every part of the tree had a job. The wood, dense and packed with natural toxins, stood up to decades of punishment. Fence posts cut from Black Locust could be driven straight into the ground, left untreated, and forgotten for a lifetime. Old farm journals record posts still solid after 80 or even 100 years, outlasting the farmers who set them. While other fences sagged and rotted, locust posts held tight, resisting the slow creep of decay and the bite of insects. Firewood was another reason settlers planted these trees close to home. Black Locust burns hot, hotter than oak, with a heat output that could warm a cabin through the worst winter. It splits clean, stacks neatly, and dries quickly. For families relying on wood stoves and open hearths, a single locust tree could mean the difference between a cold night and a comfortable one. In times of scarcity, when every stick of wood mattered, this tree was a reliable source of high BTU fuel. But the real genius of Black Locust came from its ability to give back to the land. As the trees grew, they dropped leaves rich in nitrogen, feeding the soil beneath. Roots worked unseen, pumping plant food into the earth. The result was a closed-loop system: fuel for the fire, lumber for the fence, and a steady supply of natural fertilizer, all from a single, stubborn tree. On the homestead, Black Locust was not just useful, it was indispensable. By the early 1950s, the American countryside was changing at a pace no one had seen before. Fields that once ended in tangled rows of Black Locust and Osage orange were opened up by the blade of a bulldozer. Government pamphlets and extension bulletins called this progress. They urged farmers to clear out the old hedgerows, promising faster harvests and bigger yields. Tractors were getting larger every year, demanding wide, straight runs, with nothing in their path. Across the Midwest, bulldozers chewed through thousands of miles of living fences. In Iowa and Illinois alone, more than 350,000 miles of hedgerows vanished in a single decade. Archival records from the USDA describe clean fields as a symbol of modern efficiency. County agents organized community bulldozer days. Farm journals from the time show before and after diagrams, a patchwork of small fields replaced by vast, unbroken rectangles of corn and soybeans. The destruction was not just about making room for steel and rubber. Hedgerows were labeled as havens for weeds and pests, obstacles to the new vision of American agriculture. What disappeared with every uprooted row was more than a line of trees. It was a living system, one that had quietly built soil, sheltered wildlife, and offered free fertilizer to every crop within reach. The loss was measured not in stumps or brush piles, but in the silent absence of what those trees once did for the land. Synthetic nitrogen changed everything. In 1909, two German chemists, Fritz Haber and Karl Bosch, unlocked a way to pull nitrogen out of the air using high pressure, heat, and fossil fuels. The Haber-Bosch process could make ammonia on an industrial scale, turning atmospheric gas into a white powder that shipped in sacks. By the middle of the 20th century, this invention had become the backbone of global agriculture. American farmers, once surrounded by trees that quietly fixed nitrogen for free, now bought fertilizer by the ton. The numbers are staggering. Today, the United States alone applies more than 12 million tons of synthetic nitrogen fertilizer every year. Globally, the fertilizer industry is worth over $200 billion. For the first time in history, soil fertility was no longer tied to biology or the land itself. It could be bought, trucked in, and spread by machine. This shift was not just technical, it was economic. Fertilizer companies grew into industrial giants. Universities and extension services promoted chemical solutions as the future. Government programs steered farmers toward bigger fields, promising that synthetic fertilizer would feed more people more efficiently. But the cost went beyond money. The cycle of buying and applying nitrogen year after year created a new kind of dependency. What once came from a living system was now a line item in a budget tied to global supply chains and the price of natural gas. As the fields emptied of trees, the quiet work of Black Locust, turning air into plant food, was replaced by a factory process. The promise of endless growth came with a hidden bill, soil that needed constant feeding, and farmers who could never quite break free from the bag. Coppicing a black locust is a process rooted in observation and timing, not guesswork. The cycle begins with patience. After planting, leave the tree alone for 2 years. This allows its root system to mature and build enough reserves to recover from the first cut. When the time comes, cut the tree back sharply, either down to a stump a few inches above the ground, or to chest height if you prefer easier harvesting and less ground-level regrowth. Both methods work, but the low-cut, classic coppicing tends to produce the most vigorous new shoots. The cut itself is simple, a clean slice across the trunk with a sharp saw or loppers. Safety gear is important, as even young black locust can sport thorns. Once the top is removed, the tree responds almost immediately. Dormant buds along the base and roots wake up, sending out a flush of new shoots over the next few weeks. Above ground, these shoots can reach several feet in a single season, fueled by the energy stored in the roots. Below ground, the balance shifts. Some existing roots die back, releasing their stored nitrogen right into the surrounding soil. A natural fertilizer pulse that feeds nearby plants. The pruned branches and leaves do not go to waste. Drop them directly onto garden beds as a thick mulch layer. This chop and drop layer smothers weeds, holds moisture, and slowly decomposes, adding organic matter and nutrients to the soil. The leaves are especially rich in nitrogen, making them a potent green manure. Within 6 to 8 weeks, much of this material breaks down, feeding the next crop in line. Repeat this cycle every 1 to 3 years, depending on how much biomass you need and the vigor of your trees. Each round of cutting triggers another wave of regrowth and another underground burst of nitrogen. With careful timing, a handful of black locust stools can supply a steady stream of mulch and fertilizer. No bags, no outside inputs, just the tree's own relentless drive to grow. Coppicing is simple in principle, but it rewards patience and timing. It turns one tree into a perpetual source of wood and soil fertility. Black locust power comes with real responsibility. Once established, it does not like to stay put. Underground, the roots send out runners, sometimes yards away from the original tree. Each severed root can sprout a new shoot, and over time a single stool can give rise to a thicket. This is how black locust takes over abandoned lots, roadsides, and even well-tended gardens, if left unchecked. Extension services across the country warn without containment, black locust can become a problem, not a solution. The most effective way to keep it in bounds is with a physical barrier. A trench dug 18 to 24 inches deep around your planting severs and exposes any wandering roots. This simple line in the soil stops suckers from escaping and makes annual maintenance straightforward. Inspect the trench each season and cut any roots that try to cross. In small gardens, raised beds with a buried root barrier offer even tighter control. For larger plantings, spacing stools well apart and mowing regularly around the base can slow the spread. Never plant black locust where its roots could reach a neighbor's property or a wild area. Containment is not optional. Toxicity is the other non-negotiable. The bark, leaves, and seeds contain robinin and facin, proteins that are poisonous to horses, cattle, and even humans if eaten in quantity. There are documented cases of livestock poisoning from accidental grazing or wind-blown leaves. This tree is for soil, not for animals. Always site black locust well away from pastures, barns, or anywhere animals might browse. A buffer of at least 30 feet is a safe minimum. Never feed the leaves or pods to livestock, and teach children not to play with the seed pods. These warnings are not meant to scare. They are the price of harnessing a survivor. Black locust spreads aggressively because it was built to reclaim dead soils and outcompete weaker plants. With clear boundaries and respect for its chemistry, it becomes a tool for regeneration. Without them, it can turn from helper to headache. Responsible planting means knowing both sides of the story and planning for containment from day one. Today, industrial farms pour billions into synthetic nitrogen, while a living solution grows wild at the margins. Black locust still fixes up to 50 pounds of nitrogen per acre each year. Free and perpetual, it feeds soil without a price tag, yet policy and habit keep it sidelined. As soil depletion accelerates, the real question is, will we keep buying chemistry or reclaim biology? Sometimes the future is buried in an old root. Share your thoughts below.